recording. All right. Share screen. Dash screen. Down here. All right. All right. Can y'all see my screen?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right. So basically, on kind of a 30-foot view, as massage therapists, you guys are working with the soft tissues that connect these bones together. So this person here is in an anatomical position. So all these bones are stacked together. The ears are stacked over the shoulders over the hips over the knees, and the knees are in line with the middle or the lateral malleolus of the foot, right? So this is because we are constantly being pulled down by gravity. Our muscles have a certain tone and length to keep us erect in our world. The more we slouch and lean over that center of gravity, the muscles on the opposite side. So let's say she's leaning forward, the muscles all around the back side are going to tighten to keep these bones from hitting the floor. Right? So people come in when these bones are not articulating properly, cutting off nerve function, cutting off blood flow, and then the brain's going to send a check engine light to the body in a pain signal to say, hey, pain here, there's something not flowing properly. And then your job is to work with the soft tissue to reposition these bones, and then, to put them back in place where they can actually move and articulate as the muscles are pulling on them, and that person can move through the world without pain and allowing the blood flow to deliver nutrients to every cell in the body to bring out waste, and then to allow the nerves to actually come out and innervate every cell from in your fingers and toes and organs and so forth. So without, like, if you just had the bones and no soft tissue, then it would be just a bag of bones. So you see how you have these ligaments here connecting the femur to the pelvis, right? So all these are this is considered soft tissue. So you have ligaments, you have fascia, you have cartilage, you have muscle tissue, right? And all these work together. These really hold the structure and keep things in place. The muscles are attached to then move the bones. So let me cut this away. So cut through this fascia here, and you see how there's the white part of this white part is the tendon. The red part is the muscle tissue. As the muscle tissue contracts, it's going to pull at the tendon, right? And then wherever it's attached to on different parts of the body, like if this pulls, it's going to bring this knee up into hip flexion. Okay, so these muscles actually help articulate and move our bones so that we can walk through the world and move through the world. If the fascia, this kind of clear stuff here, is too compressed, it's going to squeeze the muscles, and the muscles aren't able to contract and relax. And then you can't extend properly, and then a person has a limp because they can't actually articulate their leg and walk properly. So then that is going to tighten up all these other muscles and ligaments and things, and then that person is going to come in and say, I've got sciatic pain, my hip hurts, can you massage it and work it out? But your job is not to work with the muscle itself, it's to work with the fascia, the stuff that encompasses and shapes every muscle. And then once you release the fascia, it's going to release the muscle body. And there are going to be like adhesions and things that you have to work out in the muscle tissue itself. But your main, I guess, focus point is working with the fascia and not thinking about, I'm going to dig into this muscle. So once that fascia is released, then the muscle has space to contract and relax and go back to its natural length. And then the person has flexibility, then they can actually walk properly. And then you can train proprioception, where they actually learn how to balance and use the muscles in the correct sequence and order. Okay, but that's more of a corrective exercise thing outside of massage. But just to kind of like understand that your job is to work with the soft tissues to allow the bones to be in the right positioning. Also, when the fascia constricts onto the muscles, we have our nervous system that is the main motherboard of, like it's the main control system, right? So there's sensory receptors in the skin within the fascia. The outside world, hot, cold, pressure, stretch, touch, all these sensations kind of activate, and let's say something, a tennis ball hits your arm. It's going to send a signal through the nerves. It's going to go up to the brain, and the brain's going to say, "Oh, that was a traumatic thing. We don't want to cause any more internal damage. So let's send a signal back down to all these muscles to contract and squeeze to help not do more damage to this issue, to this area, because the more tight and compressed it is, the less space that you have for a boar's tusk or arrow to go through, right, to cause more damage. So if a person stays in this stress state and it goes from this being tight, now they haven't done the proper care afterwards to treat it. Now the shoulder's tight, and then the person comes in, they're like, I can't move my arm, my shoulder. I have so much shoulder pain, then neck pain, and then it'll just compound, and the dominoes fall, and the body just gets tighter and tighter. So when you come in, you start working with the fascia, talking to the nervous system. The nervous system says, hey, I'm getting more blood flow, I'm getting more fluid and hydration. I like this. So now the brain's gonna send a signal back down to the muscles, say, hey, relax now. Now open up and relax. Now, as you're manipulating the soft tissue, the muscles and all this, then the more circulation increases, the more oxygen these tissues are getting, and then the person starts to kind of melt, if you will, under your hands, and then you can restore the function of that shoulder. But you're talking to the nervous system first. If I just dig into a knot in the muscle, that can cause more pain, which can then tell the nervous system that this is a possible danger, and it's going to tighten down that shoulder even more. So kind of just understanding the connection of all of these things. And the more the muscle impinges on the nerves, especially in the shoulder, these nerves here, the more the shoulder pinches on there, the more issues they're going to have down the arm: numbness, tingling, weakness, maybe a few fingers, 1 or 2 fingers are not working properly, carpal tunnel syndrome, trigger finger, like all these other symptoms are going to happen because the communication from the brain down to the muscles to contract and relax is diminished because there's kind of a kink of the hose. You also have your vascular system. So you got your nervous system, and you got your vascular system. The cardiovascular system, its job is to bring, so the blood comes into the heart, it pumps out to the lungs, you breathe in air, the oxygen goes into the blood, and then the heart pumps the oxygen down to your fingers and toes, right? So that's why we have a blue and a red system, where it's like the venous system brings blood back to the heart without oxygen, and then the red is with oxygen going down to the fingers and toes. So just like your car needs fuel, oxygen is needed for every cell to run and do its job, to repair, to be stronger, to do everything it needs to do. If somebody has really bad posture and their shoulders are all tight and squeezed and chronic, then that can actually impinge on these these blood vessels, which then the oxygen can't get down to the arms and hands, and then you start to see, again, weakness, muscle atrophy, like the muscles kind of like getting smaller, pain and numbness. So that's a problem. But instead of just working on the hand, if there's pain in the hand, working on the hand, we're going to work up the arm and work the shoulder and look at the source of the problem. The source of the problem is the shoulder is impinging on this vascular system, on these vessels, and it's impinging on the nervous system. So the communication down to your fingertips is being pinched. So now when you look at them, they're going to have the shoulder's going to be all wonky and out of place and not in line. And then your job is to focus on the muscles that attach the shoulder to get the length restored of these tight muscles, to get the bones back in place so that the muscles and tissue can take the pressure off of these nerves and blood vessels. Okay, so that's a basic 100-foot view. All right. You won't have an app. You can buy this app. I have all my students. So like I teach at a college in the daytime, and I have all my students buy this app. It's called Human Anatomy Atlas. And each year they update it. So this is 2024. But what I really like about this app is that if I hit this here, the pec, I can go over to this play button here, and it shows every movement that this pec does. Right? So I can just hit different buttons and it just shows all the movements. So you can have a 3D view instead of looking at that, the sketch in your book. As well as when I teach anatomy, I teach in groups, right? So I go to muscle actions. I go to like all the muscles that work in one direction. So like all the muscles that work in shoulder flexion. So like, doing like picking something up, like picking up a serving tray. So now I'm looking at all these muscles that assist this arm in this way. So instead of looking at the entire body with all these muscles and it's overwhelming, looking at these groups is going to help you, I guess, memorize or visualize all of the muscles. And that's much easier to like break it down that way. And you can see how like all the muscles attach to a certain part of the humerus here, like the insertion point. You can just think of a puppet string. If you pulled that string up from like, you know, the sternum or from up here, you pull a string, it's going to lift the arm up. So that's a kind of an easy way to break it down. But yeah, this app is great. And then there's also this like AR thing where you can actually put the person in the room on your phone or your tablet, and you can actually walk around and like look at it. So I really enjoy this app. But no, this is not an app that you're given in school. All right. So now let's go here. All right. So like I said, connective tissue is all the tissue that makes up and connects your body. So you got the soft tissue, which connects the bones, and the bones are made up of bone tissue. Your brain is made up of nerve tissue. So like everything starts as like one cell, and then those cells multiply and then make a tissue. And then those tissues multiply and then make a organ, right? And then the organs together make up a system. So it's just like one Lego, you put it together, you make a different block, and then eventually you make like a starship. All right. So each tissue has a different function. So like the heart tissue is shaped differently because it has to have force to squeeze the blood under a pressure to get that blood to go all the way down to your fingers and toes. So this is going to be different than the soft tissue around your intestines or on your skin or your ligaments. Like every connective tissue is going to have a different purpose and a different shape. So like I said before, the blood is the transport system. This is the highway that the trucks get filled up with oxygen and nutrients and minerals, and then those are transported down the body and delivered to the cells or organs or tissues where it's needed. The actual hose itself of your blood vessels is a soft tissue because this can contract and relax. So if you have like high blood pressure, you can do breathing exercises, getting in more oxygen, getting in more nitrous oxide, and you can actually vasodilate or open up the blood vessels and make a larger hose so that blood flow can flow through well. So the term high blood pressure is measuring the pressure that's pushing on the walls of this blood vessel right here. So just like if you had a garden hose and you stuck it to a fire hydrant, that is going to be high pressure. Your blood pressure is high because it's going to put more force on the inside of that hose. And if it's too high, then it breaks and busts, and then there's problems and injury in your body. This is also how your body communicates signals. So chemical messengers, like if I had a note for grandma from my mom, I get on the subway, I'm going uptown. So I'm being transported uptown, and then I get off, and then I walk up 10 flights of stairs to my grandma's house, and then I open the door and hand her the letter. I'm sending the communication from my mom to my grandma through the system. So the blood system is transporting these messengers to talk to all these different tissues and cells to either break down or rebuild or make enzymes or whatever it does. So we need this communication highway. And if the fascia and tissue is too tight and it's squeezing around the system, it's like a whole train line being shut down and people are just stuck at the train station and they're not delivering the message. All right, so we got tendons attached muscle to bone, ligaments attached bone to bone. Then we got fascia, which wraps every single little tiny string in our muscles to around the outside of the muscle to around groups of muscles. Like this is going to connect everything in our body. And then we have adipose tissue, which is the fat tissue, this yellow part around like the fat pad of the foot, right? That's going to help with cushioning and then storing excess energy in parts. Then we have the synovial membrane, which is in between joints, which is this is going to hold synovial fluid to help kind of grease the gears, if you will, to allow our joints to move fluidly without friction. Okay. So, like I said, why it matters to you is that if somebody comes in and they're having dysfunction, let's say like they're having they're constipated or whatever. If they're hunched over and their abdomen is so tight and squeezed, it's not going to allow space for the motility of the body to like excrete waste, right? So then it's going to be all compacted and just stuck together. So by working the muscles and the fascia around the abdomen, you can release space, you can help stimulate digestion, and then everything has space to do what it needs. We get caught in these compressed places because we are by nature like we're animals and we're meant to be in the outside world. Like we are meant to be farming and picking berries and hunting and walking around outside all day and just doing different things. And our body's meant to move in these different ways. But because we are so sedentary, we are stuck in these contracted states where we're like, we're in the like kind of slumped in the couch or sleeping crooked or sitting at a desk all day. And then our fascia is plastic, right? So it'll mold and model and move. So that's why we do this foam rolling and stretching to actually remodel the fascia. So just like you would take a plastic bottle, melt it down, and then you make 5 plastic bags, and then you can melt that down and make a plastic shoe. Like our fascia is the same way of it can be molded and remodeled to allow all the muscles to move how they're supposed to be moving, to allow the space for all the nerves and all the blood vessels to move and transport messages and nutrients to each other. So like that's the main goal of what you're going to be working with, outside of just somebody coming in saying, I had a long week, I just want a Swedish massage. A Swedish massage is not going to correct anything. It's going to help circulation, it's going to help them relax, but it's like the superficial, like level 1 massage that you're going to get. So when somebody actually has back pain, neck pain, headaches, migraines, then you're looking at the structure to help correct and reduce that pain, help them see better and feel better and move better, and that's your goal in that scenario. But understanding like the concept of how the body gets into this dysfunctional place, just like if your car starts going clang 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 clang, you take it to the mechanic, and the mechanic knows how the engine is supposed to work, and then he figures out what is going on, that these gears aren't moving properly or this fluid is not moving properly. All right, and if we're moving properly, then our body can actually, our muscles can pull on our bones, and our joints can move, and then we can run and jump and hop and crawl and do all the fun things in the world that we want to do without pain and discomfort. So adipose tissue or fat tissue is for cushioning, but it also is a energy storage and thermal insulator. So when we were out in nature, we didn't always have a grocery store where we can buy food anytime we want. So during the wintertime, we would have to stock up on grains and potatoes and all these things. And we might not get a full meal every day. So during the fall time, we eat more fats and animals and things, and then we get like a little plushy around, the waistline. But that is just going to, one, help keep our organs warm when it gets colder in winter. And also, if we have a day where we don't eat a lot of food, our body can use the energy from the fat cells to actually keep our body going and not have to have so much food. But because we're in a, like I said, a place where we're domesticated and we have food nonstop, we're putting in so many calories, but we're not moving like we would move if we were out living, in the field or in, some village. So our body is not burning the energy, so it's going to retain more energy for later, thinking that we're in a state that we're preparing for winter, but winter never comes. So then we have all these storage units full of fuel, and then we have to open up new storage units, and then we put on more fat, and and that's what happens, and that's a cycle. So the main purpose of fat is a storage unit of energy and also things that we can't use. So like toxins from processed food and things that our body can't use or it can't excrete, it's going to store it in the fat cells. So our fat cells are pretty much a storage unit. So cartilage is to help, again, protect our joints as they touch together and move together, like articulate. So imagine like a metal water bottle, and how you have like the actual lip of the water bottle, the cap, and then there's this rubber ring on the inside. So when you put the cap on the water bottle, it's not shaving down the metal. So that's what this does for our bones. It helps kind of create a smooth, bouncy surface so that our bones aren't rubbing and grinding together, making heat and inflammation. So just like if you made a fire out in the woods and you would take two sticks and you rub it together, eventually it'll create heat and then create an ember and a fire, and then you got a campfire. So the more we rub and grind our bones together, the more heat's going to happen, the more inflammation, the more breakdown. And then if it goes on too long, then this person needs to have a whole knee replacement. But we want to prevent that from happening by understanding how the body should move, how these bones should articulate, and creating space and putting them in the right position where they can actually move fluidly and not have this friction and pain leading to tears and knee surgeries and all that stuff. So we're getting people in to the clinic that they have this pain, but it's not going so long that they need surgery or injections and all these different things. So we're here for prevention as well. So the more we understand how the body works, and the person comes in and then their body isn't working well, we can do what we can within our scope of practice, but then we can refer to somebody else that we know that if they need more specific care, we can put them in that direction. So bone tissue, bone cells come together and then form bone tissue. We have different kind of, I guess, densities of bone as well. So we have compact bone, where it's like hard bone. So if you ever like open up like a chicken bone or chicken wing, and like the long part is like really hard, but the ends of the bones are like kind of soft and spongy and squishy. So the compact bone is like the shaft of the bone where it's really hard, so you don't trip over a toy and fall and you break your leg in half. It's there to be hard to take impact. And then the soft portion of the end of the bone is there to be able to kind of be a springboard or like a shock absorber when you're jumping up and down or coming down steps. It wants to kind of be firm but have some give so that you're not constantly fracturing your bones. So, like I said, everything is made from a cell. So osteocyte, osteo means bone, cyte means cell. So all these little seeds here come together and they make this ring, like a tree. And then these rings make more rings and more rings, and then come together and they actually make this like bone, kind of like a tree grows outward and makes a tree trunk. In the middle of it, there's the blue is the vein and the red is the blood vessel. So these bones are live tissue. So all those nutrients and oxygen and stuff minerals needs to go through the vascular system, the highway, and go into the bone to repair the bone, to heal the bone, so forth. And then any sort of debris or waste needs to be excreted, so it goes through the lymphatic system, which is like a different system around. So kind of like things get carried out, and all of the oxygen gets delivered, and then it turns blue, and then it goes back to the heart to pick up more oxygen. So you see, like there's a cycle where in order to have healthy tissue, you need this flow, just like a tree needs water from the earth sucking up in its roots, and then it needs sunlight from the sun on its leaves. If one is missing, then that tree starts to die, just like our tissues. All right. So within our connective tissue, like in between all of the cells of our body, there is this space, if you will. And this space is it's called like a matrix. So if you've like ever seen the movie, like the Matrix, like people live in the matrix and they work around in the matrix, but the actual structure itself is called the matrix. The computer program is the matrix. So I like to say, imagine like a fish tank. And there's four walls of the glass, right, or the five walls at the bottom. And then you fill it with water, which is this ground substance, is like this lubricating fluid. And then you put the fish in there, and you put different fish, and different fish have different roles. Some fish, so the sucker fish, stick on the side of the glass, and they eat all the algae. And then you got shrimp on the bottom that are eating all the poop and stuff. And you got the other fish guarding, or the bigger fish. So everything has its role inside of this fish tank. But without this fluid, all the fish would be just like sitting on top of each other, and you wouldn't have a lot of space to do anything. Like imagine, like fish need a little bit of water, but imagine that water being only covering their body. Like they wouldn't have space to swim around and move around and do their thing, and then eventually they die. So just like our cells in our body, they have to be in place, but they also need to have some movement around. So it's kind of like if you make Jello and the Jello is kind of halfway done, it's like, and you put fruit or cherries inside of it or whatever you put inside of it. It's there, but it can move around just a little bit in there. So it's like a structure, but kind of a half liquid. So you need the structure and stability, but you also need the movement. So that's why this matrix is there. And then the fibroblasts are cells in there that actually create more proteins and more building blocks to help keep the structure alive and healthy. I don't know, all my pictures are going away, but okay. Anyway, as you can see on the outside, these little things, these little images, these fibroblast cells, make different building blocks here to help keep it moving. Collagen to help strength, elastin to help elasticity, like Elastic Man, proteoglycans to help build cartilage. But without the nervous system and the vascular system sending communication, you're not going to be able to talk to the workers to bring the materials into the construction site to actually rebuild your body. So that's why we're working with the fascia and to release the muscles, to release the pressure on the system so everything can communicate, so then the body can rebuild itself. If not, it's going to break down. Then you're going to have, like I said, weakness in the muscles in the hands. You're going to have people are going to have skin issues, blotching and stuff of the skin because they're not getting proper nutrients. And then pain is going to be there. And if somebody ignores the pain and just takes BC powder or Bengay or whatever on it, and then it gets too chronic, then it gets to a point where the body's breaking down and then like they need surgery, which is not good. So let's not ignore it. Let's help encourage our patients and clients to really take care of their body and take the maintenance to be able to move properly in the world and not have parts replaced. All right. So the fluid, the fish tank. All right, so doing different techniques, cross fiber friction, stretching, myofascial release. This is going to help reorganize the collagen, which is that's what the fascia and tissue is made up out of. It's going to reduce adhesions. So we get adhesions if the muscles get too tight and the tissue gets too tight, but we still have to move our arms. We still have to pick up our kids. We still have to pick up bags and open and close doors and do our regular jobs. But if it's tight and the muscles can't move properly, then it's going to kind of snag and put kind of like a tear in the sweater. And the body's going to heal, kind of try and heal that, but the fibers get kind of tangled up into knots. So then when you palpate somebody's body and you feel all these little nodules and knots, that's the body trying to repair itself, but it's not in the right direction. It's like putting a patch on a sweater. It's like it does the job, but it's not like going to look good or have the same kind of texture as if you kind of resewn the fabric. All right. So by using these techniques, FLRs, petrissage, all these manual therapies, it's going to trigger these fibroblast cells to create more of these building blocks to help repair the tissue and mobilize the tissue to have its normal functioning, and reduce this chronic inflammation of this grinding. It's just going to start the healing process, and you're kind of ordering new workers to like repair a building, right? You're like, hey, bring in materials. I'm putting an addition on this house. I want to rebuild the floors. I want to have everything sound, like really, really structurally sound so that we can live in this house and not have issues. So at the end of the day, you want your patient or client to leave with less pain, moving better, feeling better. Their body is in more of a natural position. So then when they go back to their world of moving and lifting and bending, they're not going to be in pain. And then encouraging them to change the way that they're sitting or standing or laying down for long periods of time, that kind of formed and remodeled the fascia in a way where it's stuck in the wrong place. Okay. Okay. And sometimes you're going to see these different disorders that with the soft tissue. Some people are just going to be extra double jointed, as they say, where they're super mobile. So you don't want to do too much stretching because they're already super flexible, but this person is going to have to do more exercises to help create stability. Or if the skin is like super lax, then it's going to be real soft and spongy. So it's just kind of finding that balance between strength and flexibility is key. And each condition is going to have kind of different modifications that you're going to do within the session, really to help give them comfort and help their body flow and heal the best that you can. All right. So, like I said, the more that these tissues are out of whack, they're pulling on the bones, which affects the mobility of the person moving. It can squeeze down and affect functions of your organs by having them have less space, less nerve function, like nerve communication, less blood flow to those areas, leading to pain, leading to disability if it's a chronic condition. And then that condition can actually lead to the breakdown of some other condition, and then a person can just have this cascade of problems. So catching it early is the best thing. So on top of working the soft tissue, we're also, like I said, working with the nervous system. The nervous system is going to promote relaxation. We have these states of sympathetic dominant. So it's like, I guess, different tiers of your nervous system. So like the sympathetic state is that fight or flight. A bear's in your face. Either you're going to fight that bear or you're going to run away. And your body does different things chemically and physically to prepare your body to run away from that bear and survive. But then when you go back to the campsite and you're relaxed and you're like, man, like I almost got attacked by a bear, but now I'm safe and now I have a good story to tell. Then your body goes into that parasympathetic state where it's like relaxed and your body is digesting. Oh, I'm hungry now. I want to eat some food. I want some hot cocoa, and your body's feeling safe and relaxed. And then again, there's different chemical and physical changes in your body that promotes health and well-being. Sometimes people perceive a threat of their boss yelling at them as the bear attacking, and the body responds the same way as if it would be in front of a bear. So then the person comes in super stressed, and you can work with their body, with their nervous system, to help relax them and calm them down into that parasympathetic state where they can relax and their body can start healing and feeling better, and their tummy's going to start rumbling and bubbling, and it's just like their body's going to be in this relaxed state. So this is level one of like the sweetest massage, is you're getting a person into this parasympathetic, parasailing, relaxed, chill state. And then you go into how is their body functioning on a biomechanic level. How is their body moving? Then you can get into the nitty gritty and do the more myofascial, deep tissue, all that stuff. And it's important to understand that every single client patient is different. Learning a routine to start is one thing, but you don't do the same routine on every single person. So it's not like a car wash where the car machines wash the same way and different cars come through. Like, you're going to adapt the treatment approach to each person depending on what they want for that day, what their goals are. Do they want just to relax? Do they want you to relieve their back pain? Do they want, kind of their neck work, but also to relax? So it's kind of like, it's just, you have to talk to each client individually and see what they need. But just think of it as like you're learning how to paint. You're given paintbrushes. You're learning techniques with the brushes, but then you get the blank canvas and you get to decide how you want to paint in your own way. Right. So there's no strict rule on like how you need to do this in this way. Like, it's not that strict. It's more of an art form. All right. Any questions, comments? Was that too much for your brain? Y'all can talk to, you don't have to sit in the chat. All right.
Most of us are a little shy.
A little what?
A little
Oh,
shy.
shy. Oh, y'all good. Don't be shy. Eventually, you're going to all be in lab together anyway, talking to each other. So y'all get used to each other. It'll be all good. Everybody's new. Everybody's learning. All right, side question. Does the heart also have a unique kind of muscle not found anywhere else in the body? Yes. The heart has cardiac muscle. So, images. So cardiac muscle, you see here, you have different types of muscles. So cardiac muscle has this kind of interconnected weaving texture, right? To allow the heart to really squeeze together in tight spaces and relax. So the heart doesn't have as much length as like your muscles in your arm does, right? So if you have long arms, you have long muscles, and then you shorten the muscle and it brings the cup to your mouth. But in the heart, there's not a whole lot of space, so you need to cover more surface area and tighten down the surface area in a smaller way to squeeze the blood with pressure. So it's going to be a different striation like this. When you look at skeletal muscle, this is like in your arm or legs, it's going to be very long, but then it's like a tow rope if you've ever been on a boat. It's like a giant rope, but then each rope is made up of bundles of other ropes, smaller ropes, and those smaller ropes are made up of a bunch of tiny strings. So if you pull one little string out of this, it's gonna be like a long string, and then you're gonna see these little kind of like hooks. So it's like if you ever think about those little Chinese finger traps where you put your fingers and then you pull, it squeezes really tight. I don't want to get like too in the weeds here, but like pretty much every single strand of the muscle has these things here where these connect together and they link together and then create the contraction. But for us to actually be able to be stronger and lift more weight, we have to have more of these linkages to kind of lock in place, and then it relaxes back to its natural length. So it's kind of a linear back and forth movement. But the heart kind of squeezes in and squeezes out. It's like a different way it moves. And then smooth muscle is going to be smooth, like, you know, if you eat chitlins, like it's like that smooth muscle of the intestine. It's like the casing on a hot dog. So that doesn't need to be real meaty because you're not like pulling bones or squeezing blood. Like you want that flexibility for all of that soft poop to go through your body and come out the other end. Or around like your organs, you want this smooth muscle. The organs need to kind of just be encased so that all the stuff on the inside can do its job well. All right. Twizzler. Yeah, it does look like a Twizzler. All right. Let's come in here. Do y'all have any questions about anything from last week that y'all want to go over?
I don't really have any. I got a good gist of what we went through.
Okay.
You said from last week?
Yeah, just anything that you want to like cover or had questions from what you already learned. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like I said, I'm trying to give you guys like just an overview because we had talked about like here we got the tissues, but also they want to talk about the bones, and that's like a whole nother thing. That's like a whole nother hour lecture, which I'm not gonna go into. But maybe next week she can cover the joints and stuff. But yeah, for the movements, like honestly, just go on YouTube and so the body is broken down into, I guess, sections of movement, if you will, like kind of sections. So as you're moving, as you're twisting, you're moving on this plane. So it's like to understand how the body is moving in direction. If somebody just described to you without seeing a picture, you should be able to imagine in your head how the body is moving. So these little videos are going to kind of explain how the body moves and like the different planes. But remember, you're sliding along the plane. The plane is not dividing you into sections where you're moving in that area. So like this is splitting her in top and bottom. It's not moving in the top space. It's if her hands were like on the table and she's like dusting the table, sliding her hands back and forth. This is the plane of motion that she's working in that transverse plane. So there's different ways it's going to cut across, but and then there's different directional terms. So like above and below, closer to the spine, away from the spine. So like knowing these terms is going to help you guys understand where something is moving on the body, how the body is moving. So if you're saying, if you're trying to describe in your soap notes that there's some sort of adhesion or some sort of scar somewhere, you have to put it in terms of where it is in relation to other parts of the body so the therapist can visualize in their mind where that scar is, right? Versus just going to search for it. And especially like in the hospital and surgery, if you want one little area kind of worked on in surgery, cut into, you better damn sure have the exact spot where they're going to cut into and have the wording very particular so they know where to cut and not cut in the wrong place. Okay. And then within these planes, these kind of planes of movement, then there's going to be the types of movement when the hands go out or go in or turn over, and when your joints move individually, that is a directional term. So it's kind of like it's a lot stacked together for us to be able to kick a ball we have to do all these little tiny movements to be able to kick that ball, and the muscles have to work in a certain way to contract, to pull our bones in that way to kick the ball. But it's just repetition. Once you learn how the body moves to do an activity, it's easier to understand how to manipulate and work on that body part in clinic. And then each connection of bones together have a different type of joint, a different shape of joint, to allow those bones to move in a certain way. All right. I'm going to give you guys access to my Google Classroom, where I have just like different videos on anatomy. I mean, I have different things that you can access to help you guys just have resources, videos from workshops that I did, and so yeah, there's just like different resources for you guys. And I have a MBLEX prep course, so I'm constantly making videos about different topics, recording lectures and things. So whatever you need, I can kind of share with you guys to have a more, I guess, in-depth overview versus just what's in your book, because your book is only going to give you so much, and YouTube is only going to give you so much as well. So these are just kind of some free resources for you guys. So if you have a Gmail account, you just go to your Gmail and go to like the little dots, and you come down and you go to Classroom. You can even like get the app Classroom if you want, but you go to Classroom, and then you're going to put in this code here, right? You're going to put in this code, and then it's going to put you in the classroom. So here's I put it in the chat. And then whenever I post new material, it'll be there, and then it'll pop up, and you can, have access to it. Because I know this is like a lot of information. You're gonna probably go through the class and maybe only retain half of it. So being able to like go back and have different resources to get more in-depth knowledge is key to keeping it in your brain. All right. All right, so we are in the study portion. So if y'all have any questions, shoot. If y'all, gotta go. But this is time for y'all to have me as a resource if you have anything you want to go over.
No problem. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Hi. So, I live in more of like the west side of